Research can be defined as the act of searching for answers to those questions that an individual believes are worth answering. It can provide English language teachers with a means of exploring the questions they might have about the events that take place in the classroom.
While there are many kinds of professional development opportunities that language teachers can take advantage of, research can be a highly beneficial form of growth because the knowledge that it makes possible is in most cases instantaneously and practically useful for those at the chalk phase. The concept of teacher research engagement has been debated for several decades. Engagement with research typically involves reading scholarly articles or attending research-based presentations in person or online, while engagement in research is the act of doing research in one's own teaching context.
One of the main obstacles to teachers' research engagement consists of their own misconceptions with respect to research. Besides the fact that some language teachers might misunderstand what counts as research, others might feel that research is something that only involves the kind of activities and methods employed by academic researchers. The advantages of being a research-engaged language teaching professional are various. Research engagement is a form of professional development because it can provide teachers with new perspectives. It is a means by which they can generate knowledge for themselves and become learners of what they are doing, as well as its protagonists. When asked about their experience of research engagement, almost half the respondents claimed that they have experience of engaging neither in nor with research. Only a third stated that they have experience of both kinds of research engagement. In fact, most of them believe that they are able to do research in their classrooms and that it is an activity that can allow them to find answers to any questions they might have about language teaching and learning. Moreover, Most of the respondents suggested that research can be done in collaboration with their students and colleagues. Research engagement can enable English language teachers to grow into autonomous professionals who harness the power of inquiry to develop their own teaching competences and shape the language learning experience in effective ways. Teacher educators can play an instrumental role in equipping teachers with the knowledge and skills to engage with and in research. Another area that teachers might require support with has to do with feedback on their writing. Whether asking for comments from their peers or dealing with the formal feedback provided by an editor or reviewers, teachers need to be aware of how to incorporate feedback in a subsequent draft and how this can make the finished piece of writing more accessible and relevant to readers. Teacher research can also be disseminated in a written format, And once again, teacher educators can play an instrumental role in making language teachers aware of what options are available to them. Just like professional development events, there exist avenues for publication that are closer to teachers than some of the academic journals. A blog can serve the purpose of writing about how research has helped a teacher to investigate an issue and to share what was learned from the process of discovering answers. Some teachers might find writing about research less intimidating than giving a talk about it, especially if they have full control over what to write and where to share their thinking. The third area where teachers need support consists of the design and delivery of their session. This has to do with planning the content of their presentation and structuring it appropriately, choosing effective visual aids and resources, packaging the content in an appealing manner, and knowing how to talk about their research in a confident and engaging way. One of the most popular, and sometimes misunderstood, methods that teachers can use to collect data from within the classroom consists of surveying learners. By means of questionnaires, teachers can gather self-reported information about language learning beliefs, motivations, and habits. The history of our world is a story of migration, diversity, empire, and belonging. But these topics are not often taught in schools. Black History Month is about teaching ourselves fully and fairly about our history, and not just looking at it from one point of view. A study's methodological design is what helps a teacher to move from questions to answers. While there are many paths that can be chosen, teachers need to be shown how it is always opportune to opt for the one that is most suitable for them, their research question, and their context. Research questions that can only be answered by means of yes or no are not useful, while it might be better to first ask questions that examine the what and the how before the why. This is because the latter cannot really be answered in an objective manner. One of the most crucial areas where teachers require support when doing research is that of formulating a research question for their study. Good empirical research starts with well-formed research questions because they constitute the foundation of a study and help to define its focus, establish the investigation's boundaries, and provide the teacher-researcher with direction. Once teachers have an angle that they would like to explore, they can narrow the scope of the study even further by formulating one or two questions that it is possible to answer by means of a small-scale study conducted in their classroom or school. In helping teachers to write research questions, teacher educators must constantly remind them that these need to be researchable. For many people, the main reason for going vegan is probably that they believe that animals and all other sentient beings should have the right to life and freedom. However, there are other reasons. Vegans argue that the production of meat and other animal products is very bad for the environment. With respect to institutional support, it is vital for teachers to clarify whether school leaders are likely to be positively disposed to their efforts to conduct research or whether research is perceived as a misuse of time. Nonetheless, even when school leaders do not consider research an important activity for teachers, support can still be provided by colleagues and students. A useful activity that teachers can be helped to set up to maximize their engagement with the relevance of a piece of research is discussing a study or set of findings with a small group of colleagues. This can be done in person or online, and it can involve immediate colleagues or else a teacher's peers working elsewhere. When a research-based discussion is taking place in person, teachers might find that one of the advantages is that they have more control over who participates and the direction and purpose of the discussion. These might be key considerations for teachers wishing to utilize research as a means of enhancing classroom practices. The Paris Agreement represented an important moment in the climate change process because it was the first time there was a legal agreement bringing countries together to act. Since then, 190 countries have joined the Paris Agreement. The goal is to keep global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius. Whatever its nature, noise can affect teachers' ability to make sense of the research they consume, and hence they need to become aware of what might undermine their ability to effectively engage with research, which in certain cases might be their own preconceptions. Few people would disagree with the idea that a kind action is good for the soul. It is a win-win situation, leading to a sense of well-being both for the receiver of this kind gesture, as well as for the person who does the action. As a simple example, let's imagine you have a workmate who always does a very good job. Researchers might be primarily concerned with sharing their conceptual thinking, methodological design, and empirical results, as well as looking for feedback on their research. They might want to be mainly evaluated on their output as researchers and on their ability to theories and conduct research, rather than on their work's practical relevance for language teaching and learning. As far as politics go, the responses are just as varied. Mitigation is common and calls for a reduction of emissions and less reliance on fossil fuels. Coal-burning power plants are now replaced with hydraulic power plants, and electric cars are replacing some gasoline-efficient cars. Many people, however, feel that this is not enough. The British Council has published various books and papers that teachers can download for free. Some of these publications consist of empirical studies while others are guides to specific research approaches or initiatives. In many cases, these publications are accompanied by video recordings of talks that the researchers have delivered at in-person or online conferences. How about taking a moment to mention this to them, just in conversation or perhaps by email? The effects of this will probably be quite clear. Your workmate will be happy to receive some praise and, in addition, you will probably feel good about yourself for having spread a little joy.